Well, hello everyone. This is a brand new program. All of this is a bit of an experiment, and I'll explain the Goonie, Goonie hat thing. I'm using a new program, Ecamm Live. The only way I learn a program is to just actually use it. And I wanted to film with my iPhone, but then I couldn't figure out how to get that connected with the program as a camera, so this is just the laptop camera. Next time, hopefully it'll be a better camera and better sound. But this is how I learn things, by troubleshooting with you guys. So, what's going on? What's going on with this? What's the abbreviations? What are we doing? Those of you, well, maybe not. This might just be a girl thing, but on YouTube, there is an interesting phenomena, and they are Get Ready With Me, and I probably put the wrong initials. I think I put RM. It's supposed to be GRWM. I even fucked that up. But anyway, it's Get Ready With Me, and then whoever the person getting ready with just talks about whatever. And it's bizarre. Like, one of these shows I love watching is like Get Ready With Me, Murder Mystery Monday. So she's putting on her makeup and shit and talking about murder. I suppose makeup and murder goes well together. And part of my problem was finding time. I have so much to talk about. Finding time to do these little broadcasts. So I'm like, well, why don't we do some Get Ready With Me, and I can kill two birds with one stone. My birds are downstairs. They did not hear that. You're not allowed to say that in front of the parrots, but they did not hear me. So that's why this is on, because I need to have my face like clear and ready. And this will probably help distract me while I'm talking. Otherwise, it'll be a colossal failure. Either way, we'll find out. And I know guys are probably groaning, going, oh my God, she's going to fuck with her face. Yep, I am. Though I found that guys are actually quite fascinated by the whole beauty routine. So, and I'll probably just end up talking too much and not even hardly doing any of this again. So, got to take that off. Got to get out some sponges. A few days ago, I had posted that I had posted something on the Roberts Rules forum. And I've got this little notification box. I want to get rid. There we go. It was really bothering me. On the Roberts Rules forum about the fact that, wrong thing. Alrighty. About the fact I wanted my primer, and instead I got my setting spray because I don't have my glasses on. That's going to be fun. So, that I had a bet with my friend who does the cult of RONR, that one of the updates in this latest Roberts would be gender neutrality, because that book is absolutely full of he, chairman type stuff. And that's such an easy fix. They don't update it very often. That's kind of like the, I'm just putting on some primer. Yeah, you got to prime your face. Gentlemen, you thought you just had to prime walls. Well, you are mistaken. So that would be a very easy update, wouldn't it? To fix that, particularly since they probably won't do another edition in maybe a decade. And really, it's about time, isn't it? You know? We've gotten away from specifically gendered pronouns and so many things. And I know this is probably triggering some people, and I'll address that. So when I had posted that, I really got somewhat of a flippant response. And I was real disappointed with how tone deaf they were. Like, they did not at all see the problem with saying, Madam Chairman. One of these things is not like the other. You don't see a problem with that? That doesn't cause any kind of, cognitive dissonance? Isn't that like Mr. Ma'am or Ma'am Mr.? It makes no sense. And, whatever. I just felt like they really weren't taking the comments particularly seriously. So, then I posted on Facebook. And what I said in my post when I did it was, I thought it was tone deaf. And basically they said, or the few gentlemen said, well, it doesn't really bother them. And I'm like, It's really easy for something not to bother you when it doesn't really affect you and it benefits you. Why wouldn't it not bother you? You know, oh, it doesn't bother me when everything is referring to my own gender. No wonder it doesn't bother you. Duh, you're talking to someone it does bother and you're going, me as a man, it doesn't bother me. So now let me deal first with the people who will think all of a sudden I've gone like full social justice warrior or something like that. Nope, that's not it. Though, I don't know, maybe you'll think I did a little. But language is important. Everyone knows that. There's a saying that says, he who controls the language controls the war. There's a reason why people really battle for the terminology of things and what things are labeled. There is power in words. And as I'm wont to do, I love to do my scriptural references. Sorry, not sorry, that's just who I am. Where in Proverbs it says, the power of life and death is in the tongue. Because words are powerful. Positive words lift up. Negative words bring down. And even in Proverbs, it talks about, that the tongue is a worse weapon sometimes than the sword. We also hear sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We all know that's bullshit. We all know words can hurt. It might not be aggression. It might not be something we can outlaw, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. So now that I've established, I'm putting on, I'm putting on the foundation, establish at least somewhat that words are important. I hope you can at least grant me that. So I'm not really like, being all, this isn't like social justice type stuff. It's just recognizing the fact that language changes. And the fact is, English has been evolving for a long time. And we have already gotten rid of a lot of gendered words. Whether you agree or not, the fact is that we have. For instance, we don't say policeman anymore. Used to all the time, but now we say police officer. It's recognizing the fact that there are a lot of women in that field. And it just seems weird to call a woman a policeman. I don't see what's so particularly astounding about that. I don't think any of you men would appreciate if you were working at the restaurant and I called you a waitress. If that would bother you, then perhaps maybe you could understand a little bit. It's not even necessarily that I think you would find it demeaning, it's just jarring. You're like, I'm not a waitress. Part of the purpose of language is so that you don't really have to think about it so much. Whenever you have to pull up short and go, wait, that sounded weird, it interrupts the whole flow. It interrupts the flow of study, it interrupts the flow of conversation. And it is very jarring to constantly read in Roberts, chairman for everything, chairman for everything. And I had commented that when the book was written, that was primarily a male role. And they took offense at that too, saying, oh, one of the first chairs of the National Association of Parliamentarians was a woman, blah, blah, blah. Pointing out an exception to a rule does not disprove a rule. There is a rule. Men are taller than women. That's a general rule. Finding some gargantuan woman does not disprove the fact that generally men are taller than women. In those times, generally, the chair of organizations were men. The fact that there were some women, duh, I'm sure there were. I don't buy into, this violent patriarchy keeping us all down. I'm sure there were some women, but mostly it was chairman. That's why the term came about that way. That's why on planes, originally we had stewardesses because it was women. Now we don't call them that anymore, and this is kind of reverse from the male thing. This was where it was a female-dominated profession, and now we call them flight attendants because a man does not want to be called a stewardess. To me, this just makes complete logical sense. Now, I had somebody, and I'd like to actually read this if I could. I probably can't get to it from here. Hopefully I can. I had a great private message, and it was on my secretary page, if I can get to it. I don't know if I do not like mobile Facebook. Mobile Facebook, I do not like you. Let's see. Messages. Okay, yeah, here it is. I'm not going to give the person's name, but it is a gentleman. And he said to me, "Hey, saw your post about dudes being okay with gendered language that benefits them, and I implicitly agree with your conclusion that people will agree with that which benefits them. Perfect. I'm just wondering what you mean by gendered language that benefits someone." I tried to think it through, and it's the benefits part I'm hung up on, because it does imply detriments on some other side. And by asking, I'm not trying to be an asshole, I just want to understand. That's why I messaged rather than commented. I do love the work you do and hope you take this in the way I mean it. Yours in Liberty. Questions are great. I would never take offense at something like that. And he was the inspiration for me doing this, because I felt it was something that I couldn't really explain on paper. So how does it benefit? Well, it might be subtle, but there is definitely a benefit. The benefit is the presumption of a masculine figure filling a certain role. You might not think that has an effect on young girls growing up, but it most certainly does. Representation, whether we like it or not, matters. It absolutely matters. Now, I don't think we need to go bonkers at it and start looking at all the statistics and saying we have to, make sure there's equal everything. But in areas where it's easy and it doesn't cost anything in effort or money, why wouldn't we want to do that? So that's really what I mean by benefit. There's a psychological benefit, and always hearing a male attachment to certain figures of authority. There definitely is a psychological benefit to that. Either that, or we don't think language is particularly meaningful or important. And I think we all know that it's not. That it is. Duh. Now, there was something kind of strange that opened my eyes to this a bit. This was about, and I still am not sure I even convinced Wayne to agree with me yet, but this was about 5 years ago, maybe more, because maybe even 10 years ago, because this was before I was a libertarian. Put on some blush. And I was talking with some African American friends, and I was listening to some African American commenters on things in culture that made them uncomfortable, that constantly drew attention to the fact that some things just aren't explicitly made for them, or really made them feel the sharpness of being a minority. And I used to laugh things like this off, going, really, get over it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there is an important point to make there. So where I'm telling you there's a benefit, rather than just telling you, I want to show you something. So, sorry, but it's back here. Got some props. I've got 3, let me find them, 3 props here. Okay. So, my first prop, it's this. Right, no problem. You and I probably don't think twice about this. You get a cut on your hand, you stick on the Band-Aid. Now, guys, don't get all jittery. I'm going to show a bra, not the one I'm wearing. And women, when they go bra shopping and they're looking for something that won't show through a white top. Right here, perfect. Where's the flush toned? Salesperson points you over there. You want nude pantyhose. This is the color that's considered nude. Now, what do you notice about all of this? You probably think nothing of it. I didn't for years. Put yourself in the position of an African American person. If you can't implicitly understand, that would make you feel a little weird. This is flesh tone, and you're going, that's not my flesh. This is nude. This ain't nude for me. This is what's supposed to keep a bra from showing through my sheer shirt. This ain't gonna do it. There is a psychological disadvantage and a psychological advantage to the language presumption that all flesh means white flesh and nude means white nude or Caucasian, however you want to put it. And I thought that was pretty powerful, actually. And sometimes I struggle explaining it, but when you go through life growing up, seeing things that are just taken for granted, that they'll work for some people and not work for others, why there is an advantage to that, and there is a psychological disadvantage. And it's the same thing with language. When you read through a text and everything is blank man or he or his, that's really the same as, well, I'm not even going to say the same, because analogous, that's better, to the feeling, I suppose, I don't know, that someone gets when they go to buy a Band-Aid and they don't want it honking big and showing up on their skin, and it's Caucasian colored, and they're dark-skinned. It's not made for them, and they're painfully aware of that. And the same thing happens to, I'm not going to speak for all women, just like my friends weren't speaking for all black people, but the same sort of thing happens, at least, got to put on my under eye concealer, with some women when it comes to, when you're always, you love this? When you're reading through something and all you see is the male signifiers. And what made this even more troubling to me is, again, I don't think you have to bend over backwards to avoid this sort of thing. I mean, we all know in English the he stands for everybody. But why wouldn't we want something that more accurately represents reality if it's easy to do? And for the example of chairman, chair is perfectly serviceable, and it is what most people use. When you're talking about your state party, do you go, oh, so-and-so is the chairman? Some of you might, but I guarantee you most of you don't. You say they're the chair. I don't hear hardly anyone saying chairman anymore. So why would they insist on keeping it that way in the book when it would be so easy to change it? Things like that, cultural things like that, that really, again, take little effort. I don't see why we wouldn't want to do that. And for most other people, I mean, you have sisters, you have daughters. Don't you want them to feel like no matter what role they aspire to, it's for them too? And I'm sorry, when I'm chairing a committee, I'm not Madam Chairman. And I think chairwoman is just ridiculous. Why don't we just say chair? There's a perfectly gender neutral term. And if any man wants to continue to use chairman, knock yourself out. That doesn't sound as ridiculous to me as chairwoman. Is just too long, too many syllables. Chairman sounds very distinguished. But don't insist that's the default term, because it just simply isn't anymore. So, I hope I explained that a little bit. And yeah, I've done way too much talking and not enough getting ready. But I do, again, to reiterate, I hope that explained some things and that you'll have at least a little bit more of an appreciation of where I'm coming from. Now, it's not something, it's not like I'm going to, what was it I said in that post? I'm not about to start refusing to shave my armpits and burning my bra and going out and saying, I hate men. No, it's nothing like that. I like men very, very much. It's just a matter of culture. And when people, this is something that should trigger libertarians. Let me just do my eyebrows here a minute. Man, I love the Benefits brow pencil. Women will know what I'm talking about. It's surprising to me when libertarians are reluctant to change a custom of language. You want to know who doesn't want to change traditions? Conservatives. That's who. That's the hallmark of conservatism. This is the way it's been. This is the way it should be. Well, no, I question that. And you should question that too as a libertarian. And if something so easy can be done, why wouldn't you want to do it? All right, so enough of that, right? And again, okay. Hope that was explained somewhat decently. Oh, and I'd put some primer on my lids. I'm not going to go all crazy here. So are we looking forward to the debates tonight? If you're wondering what I'm doing here, it's a trick when you have hooded eyes, because otherwise you will not, believe me, it's not pretty if you don't tape up the sides. Well, at least in my experience. So, who's watching the debates? Who's not watching the debates? I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. But I think I'm definitely I'm going to do some commentary, at least afterwards. Now, let me look at this program here a second to see if anyone's been commenting. Oh, crap, it's so hard to put my glasses on. Woo, with this thing. Who were you before being a libertarian, Karen? I'm not sure what you mean by that question. I haven't been a libertarian very long, which surprises people because I guess of how involved I am in the party. I became a libertarian on September 17th, 2014. Yes, I do know the day. Don't ask. So that hasn't been very long. What's it? 6 years now? Oh, yeah, I just passed my anniversary and I didn't even realize it. I should have put it on my calendar. Dates like anniversary dates aren't a big thing to me. So, before that, I was a Republican, but I was a rhino. I didn't even vote. Like, sometimes I would vote because they'd let me off from work and I just wanted to get off from work, or I wanted the stupid sticker. Yes, I was that shallow. But I didn't vote most of the time. I couldn't care less. And there was only one reason why I was even a registered Republican, because I was a registered Democrat before that, because my family was all Democrat. That's how I was raised. Is I became a Christian when I was 29, and it was in a very, very, I don't like this dark green. I'm going to have to do something about that. Woo, that's too dark. Well, it was in a very, very, well, it's not that bad, I guess. Just need to add some more purple. It was in a very, very fundamentalist sect. And in that sect, when you accepted Jesus, you pretty much also accepted the Republican Party. That was just the way it was. So, you just were not a Democrat. And not that I really even cared about politics, so I was like, fine. I switched my voter registration. Because to them, everything was about abortion. Like, literally everything was freaking about abortion. So, that's, I think, why they were Republicans. And they very much, this was during the whole really Christian right period of time. So that was a real big thing. I actually did attend the Reclaiming America for Christ conference in Fort Lauderdale. I don't remember what year that was, but I could probably look it up. That was a hoot. It was kind of creeped me out, actually, because it just something very idolatrous about that. All right, well, I guess the green wasn't that bad. It needs to be blended out. It needs to be blended out. That's all it needs, I think. Otherwise, it's a bit too dark. It's all an experiment anyway. I like playing around with dark colors. So I also need to finish my response video. Oh, let me tell you what else I got planned that I'm probably going to do as a get ready with me as well. And I want to see if I can, you know that Unity Party thing that just really was annoying? I'm going to be going through their videos and doing some responses to that as well, I think. So I guess, I'm going to be trying to do a bit more of the quick commentary type stuff. And also L&C updates. So y'all tell me what you might want to hear. Now, I was hoping that there might be some back and forth on this issue. Either people disgusted and thinking like, oh, you're so wrong, I don't care, I'd like to hear that. Or maybe people saying, okay, I didn't see it that way before, but I kind of get what you're saying. So if you're still here and you'd like to comment, I would love to hear from you because I'm still doing my, I got to put on my eyelashes. What's this? That's Lashabye. I don't want that. What's this? Okay. Got to do my magnet. Okay, now check this out. I don't know if I want to wear these, though. I got some new magnetic lashes in. Birthday bish. Those are beaut, huh? Huh? Those are something. Got to curl my eyelashes first. So, if there's any pushback on this, I would love to hear from you. So let me know. Otherwise, the rest of this is going to be me yapping about my magnetic lashes. And potentially the debate coming up. Oh, I know what else I wanted to talk about. And, yeah, why not? Because I'm not even done with my makeup yet. There was someone in a comment on my YouTube video on Cirrus where I was responding to his criticisms, I suppose you would say. Well, they were criticisms of Joe Jorgensen. And I still have to finish the healthcare portion of that. But I had someone in comments, and I get this frequently, who just typed in, fair tax, fair tax, fair tax. Okay. And I had responded that, no, I thought fair tax was absolutely horrid, and it's not something I would ever get behind. And they actually very politely and respectfully asked me why. Let me see if I can find that comment, because I don't like putting words in people's mouth. Let me see if I can find. I could probably do it quicker on my computer. Let's see. YouTube.com. Oh crap, I'm not even signed in on this computer. I'm using my MacBook Pro here, and I don't use this for very much other than like L&C meetings, but it has a better camera on it, which is why I was using it for this. So let's just sign in. Well, crap, it doesn't know my password. I might not be able to do this. Oh, never mind. I don't even need to, why do I need to sign in? I don't need to sign in to see comments. I just need to go to YouTube and look up that video, right? Right. Why didn't you tell me that? I don't know why you're letting me make a fool out of myself here. So we're looking for the Pink Flame of Liberty channel. Go subscribe. There's some good shit there. All right. A response to Cirrus regarding Dr. Joe Jorgensen, which if you haven't seen that, you'll want to see that. So oh, here we go. And since this is a public comment, I will say the name. This is from a Joe Dowling, and he put in fair tax, fair tax, fair tax. Well, he didn't do that, but I'm doing that. Joe Jorgensen should look at the fair tax. As if she don't know about it, right? Tax sheltering goes away with the fair tax. Loopholes go away with the fair tax. Research the fair tax. And here's what I said in response. I said, I'll do a video on this soon. I guess this is a bit of what I'm doing now, right? But I absolutely oppose the fair tax. And Joel said to me, I'd love to hear the problems of the fair tax. If the position is taxation is theft, explain how we get from today's system to the no taxes system. Okay, there's several questions packed in there. And there's several questions which are, A, what's the problem with the fair tax? And obviously, B, if but for the fair tax, how would we get to no tax? Okay, fair questions, but notice there's an implicit question in there that we would get to the no tax system from the fair tax. And I think that's a totally unsupportable presupposition. So let's unpack it a minute, but let me at least put my highlighter on. At least part of it. I probably should have did this. Well, I'm live, so I couldn't have done it off camera. This is a magnetic eyeliner. So it will put on my lashes. And I'm trying to cheat a little wing. You can't do a wing, a real wing, when you have hooded eyes. So you do like a cheat one, which I'll show people someday if they want to know. Look, I don't have my glasses on. I could barely put the thing back in there. But let me just finish this. I don't have a particularly steady hand, which is another reason why I have that tape on there. It keeps me drawing within the lines. Oh my God, I'm so blind. There we go. Ugh, this is getting slightly pornographic. Okay, here we go. That's what she said. I can't get it in the hole. Okay. Let's see here. Let me just finish this. Okay. All right, let's let that dry. And then I have to put on another coat. And yes, I did color over onto the tape and it looks all messy, but when I pull it off, it'll be beautiful. So let's start addressing these questions. And I got to keep my eyes somewhat shut so that this doesn't, you know, bleed upwards. All right, so the first question is, what are the problems with the fair tax? Okay, well, let's go to his original post. Tax sheltering goes away with the fair tax. That's a benefit. How? I'm not opposed to tax sheltering. Why would we be opposed to tax sheltering? And he also says tax loopholes go away with the fair tax. That's a benefit? I don't consider that a benefit. I think a lot of how we'll feel about something like the fair tax and that name. You talk about power in words. Oh my God, what a perfect example. Fair tax. How could you be opposed to something fair? Really? They don't call it just a consumption tax, which is what it is. Because no, that doesn't sound as good as the, magical fair tax. Words matter, just like I said. Any marketer will tell you words matter. So in order to critique the fair tax, it all, I think, really comes down to our fundamental presupposition as to the nature of taxation. Now I could go back to my main screen here so I can see if there's any comments, because I prefer not to be talking to myself. Let me put on my second coat. Oh, I fucked that up a little bit. Okay. And what this is for, the ladies that might be interested, or the guys, no judgment. You wanna put your freaky on and put on some magnetic lashes. You do you, boo boo. This isn't even the brand I wanted to use, so I hope it works. This is a drugstore brand. Oh shit! Look, see how I smeared it on the bottom there? I'll have to take care of that in a minute. This is RONR. I actually wanted to use Glamnetics because that's the brand of lash, but let's see if this works. So if it doesn't stick well, don't blame Glamnetics, because this is RONR, which is like a Target thing. But I like totally smeared right there. See, I got to clean that up. All right, so back to the nature of taxation. And Joel, was that his name? I'm not going to go back and look. So Joel, you're Joel now if you weren't Joel before. Said, well, if the position is taxation is theft, then how do we get to the zero tax system? Well, I'm going to answer that. Oh God, look. Ugh. Ew, that's awful. Ugh. Where's my tissues? Hold on a second. Now, I really don't understand anyone who wants to argue that taxation isn't theft when we're not going to be quibbling over whether it's extortion or whatever. You know what I mean? Because the minute you're taking money from someone who doesn't want to give it to you for a service they didn't agree to at that price, and I just fucked everything up. Oh my God. Now you guys see why it takes me so long. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, I got all kinds of spillage. It's because I'm talking at the same time. From an unwilling person for a product they didn't bargain the price for, that's theft. Anyone who wants to say it is, and I go, well, I don't consent. And then men with guns come and take it from me. How is that not theft? You're going to tell me because I used the roads? I didn't agree to those terms. You kind of had a monopoly on all of that. And then for me to exercise my human rights of freedom of movement and things like that, you go, well, then you gotta pay me for these roads at a price that I arbitrarily decided. I'm sorry, honey, that's not the way things work. We get to actively bargain for the things we want. You won't let me go build my own roads. I know some people have tried it. There's been people on their own land who, when there's been like government construction, have tried to build like a little like turnpike, and they got shut down by the government because you're not allowed to compete with them. So, no. So it's theft. And if we're talking in a libertarian context, which we are in the context of Joe Jorgensen's campaign, the position of the Libertarian Party is, and has always been, that taxation is theft. You're free to differ, obviously, but the party position is that taxation is theft. It's been that position since absolutely day one. And I've done a demonstration that it actually still is in the platform. People will try to argue it isn't. It is. If you take context and history into consideration, which you have to when you're interpreting any document. Documents do not interpret themselves. So, see, now when I pull it off, I've got nice nice lines there, though I did color outside the lines a little bit. So if we believe, and I certainly do, that taxation is theft, why would we be opposed to tax loopholes and tax shelters? If someone could get away with not being stolen from as much because I can't get away with it, I'm going to be all salty bitch and say you can't? That's not right. So the argument, when you get all salty about like Trump not paying taxes, isn't that Trump needs to pay more. It's that everyone needs to get away with paying, with avoiding it. Why wouldn't you want to avoid theft if we really believe it's theft? So getting rid of tax shelters and tax loopholes is one reason why I oppose the fair tax. It's not the main reason, though, because people will be quick to point out that you could avoid the fair tax pretty easily by not buying new. How is that, though, really an option? So you limit your choices in the market to avoid being stolen from? I mean, it's nice that you could do that, but I could also say to you, well, you could avoid paying income tax by simply not working. Therefore, it's voluntary. No, doesn't work that way. You don't say, well, you could avoid this by giving up one of your rights and then declaring that it's voluntary. And you don't have to give up any right for tax loopholes and tax shelters. So it's completely different from like, well, I won't buy new anymore. I'm just going to buy it at the Salvation Army or whatever it might be. But let me tell you what's even, whoa, fuck that up too. The bigger problem I have with it. I have to back up a little bit because there's a philosophical principle we need to get straight first. And that is, people will say when I oppose things like the fair tax, they'll go, oh, you're an all or nothinger, right? You just want no tax or nothing. No. I know we have to take the baby steps when they're offered with us. But you don't take steps backwards. I'll take the tiny step forward. You never take a step backwards. And there is no such thing as net aggression. So I've hear people who will argue for the fair tax by going, well, it dismantles the IRS. It will, so it's net less aggression. Aggression isn't calculated like counting pennies. That isn't how it works. There's no weight. Like if you think there is, they'll say, well, how many rapes equal one murder? Or how many punches in the face would equal one non-consensual fondling? It doesn't work that way. It's all very subjective. Something that you might prefer, like if somebody gave you a choice, well, I'm going to punch you in the face or I'm going to, tase you with a cattle prod. You might prefer one if you had to make a choice, and someone else may say something different. It's all highly, highly subjective, and that's the reason why Nozick's Anarchy, State, and Utopia doesn't work, which I could get into that at another time. That probably seemed random, but it really isn't. So forget that whole net reduction. There isn't no net reduction. There's only actual reduction in something that is actually quantifiable. So if everyone's taxes got reduced by 5%, that's an actual reduction. You don't bargain with other people's rights. You don't say, well, if we get a reduction here by increasing over there, that's acceptable. Why is that acceptable? You're increasing over there. Well, on net, no, that doesn't work that way. You never, ever give ground. You might take less than you want, but you never give ground because ground once given is never taken back. Anyone who supports the fair tax, who believes that we won't end up with both, that we won't end up with both an income tax and a consumption tax, hand over what you're smoking. Don't bogey the drugs, man, because you're smoking some primo shit if you believe that. Really? You don't think when the next crisis comes, they'll do just like they did when they introduced the income tax to begin with? Well, it will only be on the top X. And everyone wants to fuck the rich, right? So then, and it'll gradually and gradually and gradually get right back to where it was, and you'll end up with both. You never fucking give the government a new tax. Never. I can't even believe I have to say that. So there's that. But the more weighty concern, let's pretend that wouldn't happen, even though we know we would. That's off in the future. Let's talk about a problem that would exist immediately upon institution of the fair tax. They go, oh, well, it gets rid of the IRS. Okay. Well, in order to get taxes, I need to put my lashes on. You have to have what? A tax collector, or a means of collecting that tax. It might not be the IRS, but if you're going to have taxes, they need to be collected in some way. Who becomes the tax collector then with a fair tax? The business owner, at increased bookkeeping cost to them that doesn't get recompensated by the government. That's a nice trick. If you could get it right, you get other people to do your work and you don't pay them for it. That is quite a scam. So you want to force business owners now to take on this extra accounting for your fair tax, huh? They didn't have to do that before. You're going to say that's not additional aggression on them? I think so, and I'm sure most of them would think so. That freaking paperwork's a nightmare. And the government would be like, hey, don't have to pay the IRS anymore. We can use that money to go bomb brown people. Woo, those are something, aren't they? Woo, those are really something. All right. Woo, okay. I'm just pressing them into the magnet. Okay. So there's that. But it's even worse than that, and that is bad enough. What you've done, so right now, the government is inserted into your contractual arrangement with your employers. Your employers are the unpaid tax collectors for the income tax. That's the system that we have now. So you might go, oh, well, somebody's got to do it, but right now it's the employers, and now you want to put it on the shopkeepers. What gives you the right to do that? You don't have the right to do that. And man, what a pain in the ass that would be for like the little independent sellers. Already they kind of get away with not collecting sales tax because it's online businesses most of the time, and the municipalities aren't really enforcing that. But you don't think when it's the government's bread and butter, they won't be going after your Etsy sellers? They most certainly will, honey. They most certainly will. Yeah, this magnetic liner, the Eyler, no bueno. I should have used Glamnetic. It stuck really well on that one lash, but it's not sticking really well on this one. I might have to, I need to put on the Glamnetic. So let me find that. So right now I've just got one lash on. So you're really crimping on the style of a small business. But you want to know who would love it is the big businesses that want to keep competition. Because, the more costs and regulation, the more it keeps people out of the market, which is exactly what they want. Aha! Glamnetic. So I need to put different eyeliner on this other eye that will actually hold my eyelashes. Just pop it on there a little bit. And also what you've done is right now when you go shopping, that's a bargain between you and the shopkeeper. That's your consensual transaction. Now you're inserting the federal government in the middle of that transaction, and that sounds like a good idea to you? That doesn't sound like aggression? I know we have the sales tax where states are already doing that, and that's bad enough. Now you want to put the federal government in it? No, thank you, ma'am. Not today, Satan. I don't know where my lash fell. Oh, there it is. I didn't know where it fell to for a minute. So that actually is the biggest problem, is you're now putting federal government intrusion into an area of life where they weren't. They weren't taking a cut off of your purchases. And now you're inserting them there. Does that sound like a reduction? That's not a reduction, that's giving ground. That's why the fair tax is awful. You never ever give ground, ever. The government will just take more and more. You don't give up a tiny bit of your fucking liberties. Well, I gotta let that dry. So now let's deal with the other question. And it's not sticking well on this side either. I'm throwing out that I lure. That sucked. So the other question was, well, if my position is taxation is theft, and of course it is, that's a libertarian position, then how do we get from where we're at now to no tax? Kinsella has a great argument or article that deals with this. Why do I have to prove that it's doable? I can't oppose aggression in principle, even if I can't give you a path to get rid of it? Really? Then you shouldn't oppose murder, because there's always going to be murder. But no, you can recognize that murder is wrong and still recognize that there probably never will be zero murder. Now, I'm not saying we will never have zero taxes, but what I am saying is I don't have any obligation to show that. I could still be morally opposed to something even if I don't know the solution. But I can tell you one way we won't get to zero taxes is by giving government permission to enact yet another tax. That's for sure. So that question needs to be turned back around against that person, not me. But how do we get there? Well, we get there by actually reducing the taxation that we have, not by giving ground anywhere else. You might go, well, that's never going to happen. That's impossible. I'm going to say it's impossible to give the government another tax, and that they would ever give up the idea of the income tax, that they wouldn't come back to it, because you know damn well they would. So what's the answer? Eat, drink, and be merry, and if for tomorrow we die, just go shoot ourselves in the head and stop trying? No. We need to show alternative ways to fund things. That's always going to be the answer, whether you're on trying to keep the government from making the fair tax like 40% right. I just went off on a little, ooh, look, a bird. So you reduce. You don't increase anywhere. You reduce. And that's what we have to fight for. And one easy way, well, easy, that's the wrong word. The logical path forward, the only way you're going to reduce the income tax is to reduce the size of government. The government, argue for the liberty viewpoint of getting the government out of things, and then they won't have to pay for it. I know, good luck with that, but that is the path forward. It's not easy. I don't have a magic wand. Did I go, boop, no taxes? It's like Rothbard. If I had that wand, like he said he would break his finger pushing the button, I'd be going like this with that wand if I had that wand. But alas, I have no such wand. I only have a hairbrush. No taxes. No, it didn't work. So that is the thing with the fair tax. The unfair tax, because all taxes are unfair. You totally eliminate ways that people are getting out of taxes now. Drug dealers, they already have to deal with everything being illegal. Hell, the least you could do for them is not have them taxed. Now they'll get taxed when they want to buy something. Waitresses that don't claim all of their tips, No more, honey. With the fair tax, you get fucked too. People who work under the table, not anymore. No benefit to that anymore. And that sounds like a good idea to you? It does not sound like a good idea to me. That only sounds like a good idea, I submit, if you're envious that some people are getting away with not paying taxes and you aren't. And envy is where got us to where we are now with a lot of things, of wanting things that other people have. Instead, let's fight for everyone to have that right. Because you do have that human right not to be stolen from. Fair implies that taxation is fair at all. It's not. All right, let's try to do these lashes again. If not, I'm going to just give up on these for tonight because I have a feeling that that eye lure like really just messed up the priming here. Oh no, here we go. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, that one's on. Now let's put this one back on. Ooh, those are big though. I won't be able to wear my glasses with these. They stick out too far. Ladies, if you have not tried the new generation, like either Moxie Lash or Glamnetics of the magnetic lashes, you need to. And don't trust me fumbling with them because I suck. But if I could even get them on at all, that's a bonus because you should have seen me with eyelash glue. Ooh, no bueno. You know what part of the problem with me with these right now though is I didn't cut them. They're a bit too long. My eyes aren't very big. I probably should cut them. There we go. Just need to press that down there. You know, in the inner corners where it needs to be cut. All right. So now we have that. So that's why I oppose the fair tax. And I do think that is a perfectly logical and libertarian reason to do so. Let's put on some lipstick. And I usually use a lip brush. I don't know why I'm not. Alrighty, so that was Get Ready with me. And I certainly had a lot more to talk about than I thought I would need to. Do I want to really fuck with my hair right now? No, I don't really want to because gotta mess with the edges. Alrighty, that's it, I guess, and I'll also be uploading this to YouTube, so I hope the discussion was interesting. After it's over, feel free to comment, and I will interact with you at that time. Bye-bye, it's been real. Did I hit end? No, there we go, hold on, end.